All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, June 13th. We had CPI coming out this morning, better than expected. Barely, but better. At 4% versus 4.1% expected for the year-over-year reading. Last month, this was 4.9%, so a steep drop from April to May on the year-over-year reading. The month-over-month reading came in at 0.1% versus 0.2% expected. This is down from 0.4% last month for April. And then the regular core CPI, that was regular CPI, core CPI came in at expectations 5.3% versus 5.3% for the year-over-year reading. Last month it was 5.5, and then the month-over-month reading came in at 0.4 versus 0.4% in April as well. So basically, we got the most plain vanilla CPI you could imagine. Besides the regular year-over-year reading coming in slightly lower, markets are very bullish on this. Currently, the S&P is up, I think, about 0.5%. Yeah, 0.4%. The NASDAQ is up the best. So the typical trend, NASDAQ is up 0.8%. The Russell 2000 currently up by 0.2%, and then the Dow Jones Industrial is currently up by 0.2%. So big tech leading the way once again, as it has been, going up in anticipation of the CPI and tomorrow's FOMC meeting. By the way, the odds of raising rates at tomorrow's meeting dropped from 23% to only 6% now. So we are going to be skipping raising rates. Whether we're actually skipping or if we're pausing, I'm on the verge of actually a pause, just because the Fed is just losing so much of its credibility. And, that 4.9 to 4% CPI drop is kind of in their favor, so we'll have to see. Natural gas and crude view for intraday. Let's see. Today is at 69. The dollar is dropping with the CPI news, so likely continuing to rally today. It looks like the downtrend is continuing in the dollar. So, yeah, I'd expect Brent crude to keep going up. 70 is in reach. I don't know if we'll get all the way back to the highs. We did have some voluntary cuts from OPEC, I think for Saudi Arabia, if I remember right. So that could drive some upside in oil. Right now it's sitting just below 70 a barrel though. But yeah. Where is Tesla going today? God if I know. Let's see, 253, almost 254 this morning. Let's see where the squeeze is. So there's hardly any puts above 255, which is almost where we're at right now. There's a decent amount of puts at 250, 10,000 puts there. For calls, you have 30,000, so you have 3 times as many calls at 250 than puts. So we're definitely in the bullish camp if you're looking at open interest. And the next hottest table, let's see, is a 260 strike price with 22,000 calls. And then after that, you're looking at the 270 call with 34,000 open interest. So my guess, probably 260 by the end of the week. And then if you get past 260, like significantly past it, you might even be seeing 270. But that's another $15 for a $250 stock. That's another 6% that I would have to gain a matter of only a few days. It's possible, but unlikely. A lot of this, though, is just driven by the options. So just check out where the open interest is laying, and you'll see mostly bullish on Tesla, hardly any bears up here. Same thing for QQQ for the expiration today. Above 352, there's basically no put, or 362, I'm sorry. There's no puts, but lots of calls, thousands of calls above 362 today. So likely going to stay above that number. I do have some 359, 360 call debit spreads that I'm probably gonna close out of. Right now I'm up 230, 250. They're going for 75 at the bid, 103 at the ask. Of course, I get a terrible bid-ask spread as usual. I'd like to get 90 out of them, but it's too wide of a bid-ask to ask for 90, I think. I'll try 88. I'll get close to 90, but not there. Not getting filled at it. Okay, well, so we had that pullback from the morning highs. Pre-market highs at 364.60, currently at 363 and change. Again, I think we're going to stay above 362 today, just because there's no bears up here. There is bears at 360. There's about equal open interest in calls and puts at the 360 strike price, with 4,000 puts and 5,000 calls. The volume is a little bit higher on the puts as of right now, considering that they're cheaper. That makes sense. But I think in order to get us really bearish, we're going to have to go below 360, and then worst case scenario, we pull back to 357, then the bears take control with the open interest. 13,000 puts at the 357 strike and only 4,000 calls. So those are your three numbers to look at. 362, likely to stay above. If we do manage to pull back this morning, you're looking at 360 as the line in the sand, where you'll get a little bit of back and forth. And then if we pull all the way back to 357, then it's going to be bearish from there. Looks like SOX S is actually recovering a little bit here. AMD is supposed to be having an event today, so this one could be buy the rumor, sell the news. Let's see. Not sure when the event is scheduled for, but if you're looking for a pullback, I would expect it in AMD. Considering that it's trading at the yearly highs, and if the event doesn't live up to expectations, that would be bearish. Let's see what time the AMD event is scheduled for. 3:15. No, that's not right. Oh, it's actually at 8 a.m., so I guess it already happened. Let's see. No, 10 a.m. Pacific time. So that would be 1 p.m. here on the East Coast. So maybe closer to like 12 o'clock, we could take some puts for AMD in anticipation of buy the rumor, sell the news. But yeah, looks like we're bouncing first thing this morning. Just above 363, 363.50, with the lows in at 362.75 this morning. So, my guess, more upside today. You've got a lot of calls going all the way up to 367, then the open interest starts to slow down. So I would probably, if I open it now, I might take profits at, say, the pre-market high is at 364.50. Maybe you could squeeze up to 366, but that would be a feat. Let's see, looking at the calls, they're very expensive today. Very, very expensive. You're paying $145 for an at the money call on QQQ this morning. The 364 call, it's going for $140, so it's very expensive to buy. But everything is up today for the small or the large caps. Apple is barely hanging on, actually. Amazon's pulling back. Google pulling back a little bit. QQQ pulling back a little bit. Microsoft still at 335, up 0.9%. Tesla went to 256 and pulled back. But they just dropped those calls down to $1.20, so might have a decent entry point here. But you're paying $1 for $1 out of the money too, so it's a bit expensive. But we are having a little bit of a pullback here down to 362.70, 362.50. And again, my assumption is that we're probably going to stay above 362. If we can't hold 362, then 360 would probably be where we start trading flat at. My call debit spread still isn't going for much. The bid is 72, the ask is 90. So the best I could probably sell these for is like 80 cents a pop. I'll try to sell them at 85, but I don't think that I'll get that price for it. Yeah, not filled. Very shocking that I'm not getting filled there. But let's see, we're $3.50 above where I need it. So you would think that these would be going for more, but not quite this morning. SPY is still cheap. How about NEO? I'm in and hoping to get saved at $10. Let's see, trading at $8.91. Too many support and resistance levels here. Broke above the last resistance I had at $8.58. Fundamentally, I don't like the company. So, like, long term, I wouldn't be a shareholder. In terms of price action, definitely have something going on. You're at 62 RSI. You have the gap up overnight. Let's check the options for this week. Bunch of $9 calls, hardly any $10 calls. And you have a bunch of $8.50 puts too. And then a bunch of $10 puts. There's actually quite a bit of $10 puts for this week. So, I mean, from a short-term perspective, if it goes above 9, I would be closing out pretty quickly, just because there's not going to be much interest to get this above 10, I don't think. What time is CPI? It already came out this morning at 8:30. Is AI on my list? No, it is not. I do not watch AI. C3 AI. So it ended up coming down after the earnings report, but slowly still going back up. It's at $38. The high was 44. Still very bullish, 60 RSI. So wouldn't be willing to bet against it, especially given the trend still kind of up, just very slowly. Yeah, AMD is pulling back here already, down to 129.75. Again, if we're going to see a pullback, it's going to be an AMD with the buy the rumor, sell the news on their event at 1 o'clock today. It's already dropped from 134, so you've already missed about $3. Let's see how much the puts are going for. I would imagine they're pretty cheap, just given the huge rally that it's been seeing. The 130 put's going for $430 at the moment. That's for June 16th, though. That's only 3 days to expiration, so not a lot of time for that to play out. Let's see for AMD, the popular strike prices for the week are going to be 125 is the next hot put at 15,000 almost, but there's 42,000 calls. So still more buying pressure. 130, you're looking at hardly any puts, 5,000 versus 40,000 puts calls. And then, let's see. There's a decent amount of open interest between the 125 and 123. You have 14,000 puts there, 12,000 at the 124 strike price, and 10,000 at the 123. So if we do manage to go below 125, that could really start to unravel. The 125 puts are going for 200 each. So we could have a decent opportunity here. QQQ is still managing to stay up right now, but it's not really moving to the upside. Just kind of trading flat so far this morning. But yeah, I think I'm going to snag that 125 put. Only going to get one of them just because it is pretty deep out of the money. I usually like to do at the money just to get the best delta, but let's see, the delta on this is 31 for $225 contract. So you get about 13% for every dollar it drops. It's starting to unravel pretty quickly though. Okay, yeah, 220 is a good price. I might be able to get it under 220, but we'll see. 217 was my purchase price. Just bought a new AMD 125 put. 6/16 expiration at 217. Probably close that by the end of the day. Might even close it before the meeting or before the event at 3 o'clock. All right, we're at 362 now for QQQ, so right at the bullish line. So if you are still feeling bullish, this would be the point to go long, just because there's not a lot of puts here. But AMD is dropping like a rock, down to 128.50. Those puts have already gained 15% in a matter of minutes. Crazy. All right, well, looks like we're below 362, so we might be losing our bullish edge. I'm going to try to close out of my call debit spread expiring today. Otherwise, that could start to weigh down on me. Not getting what I want for the contracts. Come on now. Damn, they're dropping them so quickly. Alright, I sold them at 65. Wasn't ideal, but still a profit. Just took profits on the 359, 360 QQQ called debit spread. This one expires today. 613 at 65. Looks like AMD catching some support down at 128. And QQQ bouncing at 361.30 for right now. Nvidia slipped below 400, so we are seeing a decent pullback. Still, everything almost is in the green for the mega caps, so not super bearish. Tesla's still trading at 253, so still up a ton. 1.5% today. Good morning, William. Glad to have you here today. Russell is struggling. Let's see. IWM. Looks like a possible peak. If you have QQQ pulling back, that might... I don't know if that would mean a rotation into IWM. Usually that's what's been happening. Sellout and QQQ means buying into IWM or the Dow Jones, since those have been laggers. So maybe that is the theme for today. But it definitely wasn't in the pre-market. Quite the opposite in the pre-market. Let's see, my Sox S put is doing pretty well though. On the 100 shares that I own, this was my hedge. Kind of thinking about exercising the 1150 put. Let's see, they're trading for 150, so it only has like 5 cents of extrinsic value to it. I bought the shares at, let's see, 1090. No, that's not right. I think I bought the shares at 1190. So that one would be about a $40 loss. But saved myself from a lot more downside with that put. It's always important to hedge any long positions. If you have 100 shares of any stock, it helps to buy some married puts with them, especially in this market, because you never know how quickly things are gonna start to either go up or go down. And Sox S is a short position, so yeah, AMD's down to break even, but not really moving too much now after that initial drop to 128. So we'll see if that sell-off continues. Again, the event is going to be at 1 p.m. So if we do kind of trade flat between now and then, that might cause a little concern for me. But right now the option's up about 10%. So no major concern yet. Should have gone in on IWM. Yeah, let's see. There's actually a Russell 2000 3 times leverage. I forget what the ticker is, but could have made probably even better on that. It's up. IWM itself is up 1%, so that triple leverage would be up 3. Almost trading to 190. I would imagine there's a ton of calls at 190 for this week. June 16th expiration, you're looking at 108,000 call options in open interest and only 61,000 puts. There's actually a decent amount of put. Like 61,000 isn't anything to scoff at, so there's actually a decent amount of open interest in the 190 puts, but 108,000 calls, it's a lot. So could have a gamma squeeze above 190 by the end of the week if it does manage to get above there. There goes AMD back to the downside. What's the event at 1 p.m.? It's going to be the AMD showcasing next generation data center and AI technology. And I believe it's at 1 p.m. It says 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, and I think we're 3 hours away on the East Coast, so should be 1 p.m. Now, granted, it is an AI event, so the algos might like that and start buying it. But my guess, buy the rumor, sell the news on AMD today. It's down 0.7% so far today. It was trading at 52-week highs at 132.83. So I would expect a decent pullback. I don't know what number I would want, but let's see. If it does get down to 125, I wouldn't expect it. But if it does get down to 125, that's when people will really start to sell out of AMD, considering the puts are very high in open interest at 125, 124, and 123. But yeah, I would be shocked if we got to 125 today. Let's see, QQQ is having a hard time staying above 362, so we might not have the bullish day that we expected in the morning. Down from 364.60. Again, your line in the sand today is going to be the 360 strike price, so watch out for that. It's probably where you'll end up trading back and forth if we do get down to that. And then the bears will take over at 357 if we manage to fall $4 from where we're at now, which would be a steep drop. But trend is definitely looking down this morning. You're at 35 on the RSI, so it's getting weak on the 5-minute chart. Trading close to the pre-market lows, but not quite there. Let's see, the pre-market lows at about 361. So just about 20 cents above. Hi, Mark. I really wish I had caught that trade earlier. Let's see. First 10 minutes of the market, these were going for 185 instead of the 220, 217 I paid for them. It does seem to be gaining some supports down here at 128. Very similar price action to QQQ. Almost identical price action, actually. Good morning, Peter. Welcome. Tesla to 260 today. That's where the open interest is, so I wouldn't be shocked if we did manage to get there by the end of the week. I don't know about today. Today is looking a little bit more neutral, maybe going bearish for QQQ. But we're still a long way from having a bearish day. You need another $4.50 drop for QQQ, which is like 1.5%. AMD is really struggling to get past 128 to the downside here. could cover my trade by selling the 124 put. Making it a free trade. It's going for 225 when I bought the 125 put for 215. So I'd guarantee myself $10 profit and then max out profit at 110. Let's see. Still catching that support right at 128, a little bit below. It's not really bearish just yet, but not much open interest in calls below the strike price at 128. You do have a decent amount of puts. You have 3,200, 4,000 for the 126. You're looking at 1,000 for the 127 calls and only about 500 126. So I think probably going to take profits between 126, 127. And the trade is up 70 right now. All right. They're going for 300, trading right at 127. Now even the 123 put's going for what I bought it for. What I bought the 125 for. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to get out here. It'll be about $90 profit. They just dropped the bid on me. A little bit. Okay, now we're in the 126s, so good enough for me. Sold it at 312. Just sold the 125 AMD put expiring 6/16 at 312. Probably could get a little bit more if you wait, but it hit my price target just under 127, so Russell won 2 Kenobi. 33% gain for SPY. Very nice. Bull market is back. Yeah. Mostly driven by options, but that's really all that matters. The stocks are going up, so people are going to buy it. Largely, though, in part due to the options chain. There's so many options expiring every single day, and that just kind of perpetually pushes Q, SPY in one direction or the other. Let's see, SPY's up by 0.3%. The Dow Jones up 0.25%. So we're seeing the rotation out of tech right now and maybe into the Dow. No, they're actually both pulling back at the same time, so not really rotating. Kathy with the paper hands. She sold Tesla yesterday, but it's also just because with her ETF, they have limits as to how much they can allocate to specific stocks. So I think Tesla ended up reaching her 10% threshold or whatever it is. And so she sold like, I don't remember how many shares. Let's see, ARK. Okay, sells Tesla. 393,000 shares worth $98.2 million. Damn. I wish I had $90 million of Tesla stock. That would be beautiful. All right, QQQ managing to come down to 360 now. Now we're getting a little bit of push. You're at 27 for the RSI. If this goes below 357 again, that's where the bears take over and where you'll get the gamma squeeze to the downside. Let's see. Momentum is definitely bearish. It's been 13,357 puts bought this morning. That's kind of crazy that somebody would be buying $3-4 out of the money. But they're cheap. They're 40 cents a piece. And the open interest is 14,000. Hardly any calls at 357, only 4,000. So again, if you do go below 357, that's where things will start to get hairy to the downside. It's a lot of puts getting bought at the 360 strike price, though. So that's something to look for. 93,000 puts versus only 5,000 calls. So there could be a decent selling pressure below 360 if we do get down there. Man, AMD is getting brutally sold off, down 2% now. Wild sell-off on AMD. Nvidia's not really feeling any of this pullback on AMD though. Kind of just trading with a mind of its own, close to that $400 strike price for this week. There's a ton of calls there. But every time we're hitting, let's see, 400. Well, I guess it hadn't hit 400 before. In the last couple of days at least. But that could put some pressure to the upside against the bears. If it does go manage above 400. But you would think that AMD would have at least a little bit of weight to drag Nvidia down, but still up 1% for Nvidia, down 2% for AMD. QQQ is barely in the red. 0.03%. Still got that 360 level to pass. And it looks like it bounced twice right at 360. Good morning. How do I feel QQQ is going to close at the end of the day? Judging where it's at right now, looks like 360 is your support. There's a lot of volume going into the 360 puts, so if we do get down below there, you could get a decent sell-off, maybe another couple dollars to like 358 would be my guess. It's very bearish looking at RSI. Relative strength is at 38. So momentum is certainly down after the huge rally in the pre-market in the after-hour session yesterday. But there's also a lot of calls above 362 that I probably wouldn't be willing to bet against. So if we get above 362, we'll probably just rebound the sell-off. If we get down to 360, you might trickle down to like 358 would be my guess. So 360 is your line in the sand that I would look out for today. If this is where we bounce and we go higher at 362, then it's going to be up for the rest of the day likely. But if we come below 360, might come down a couple more dollars. The VIX is down 2.7% this morning at 1460. It's still higher than it was on Friday when it closed at 1390. That's actually a bit shocking that the VIX is still higher than it was Friday, even after the good CPI report and a rally for SPY today. Not something that you would usually see. But SPY's up 0.4% to 435 now. So still a lot of people buying into SPY. Looking at the option chain on SPY. Might be bearish if you go below 433. There's a lot of open interest in puts there. Compared to calls, it seems to be about twice as much open interest under 433. And then to the upside, there's really not a lot of calls above where we're at right now at 435. The next hot strike price is the 440 if we get there. There's a decent amount of 436, 437, and 438 strike prices, but not nearly as many as not nearly as many as the puts below 433. So the SPY comes down a couple more dollars, $2. Then you could have a decent sell-off for it. It's about 0.5%, so it'd have to be about break even. There's also a lot of 435 puts being traded. 128,000 so far this morning versus only 57,000 calls. So that's a little suspicious that we have so many puts being bought at 435. Do I think Tesla is a good buy today? Tesla still has the bullish momentum that it's been seeing for the past month. Let's see the hourly chart. Still not really stalling out, so gamma squeeze I would say is still in play. I just wouldn't put a lot of money on it. Usually if you're playing a gamma squeeze, like you only want to put up, well for me I only want to put up like $1, $2, maybe like $300 max, but usually like $200. That's what I did for AMD, anticipating a gamma squeeze to the downside. Reverse gamma squeeze, I should call it. But for Tesla, yeah, I might throw like $100 at a call expiring in maybe a couple weeks or something, but I would be in and out of that trade very quickly too. Just like I was for AMD today. Probably be in and out within the same day or maybe the next day. Spam callers don't want to diagnose and cure the oozing boils. Do I think Meta will hit 280 by Friday? Let's see, where's Meta at? It's at 271. The trend for Meta doesn't look good. It looks like it peaked at previous highs. Before then, it just stalled out for like 4 or 5 trading days. So I would not want to be a buyer on Meta right now. Just based on price. Looking at the options chain, you do have a lot of 275 and 280 calls, 13,000 of each. Not really many puts up here, 2,600 and 1,900. So in terms of options, you do have some weight to the upside, but price tells me it wouldn't. And then to the downside on Meta for this week, there's really no puts, not any decent amount of open interest in puts. Until you're down to like 250, there's 9,100, and then 240, there's 23,000. So fat chance that Meta comes down $20 or 10% by the end of the week. So I would be bullish, neutral on it. Probably assume that it'll stay above, let's see, 265, 260 strike prices would be good, I think. Or 260, 255. Seeing a few names in the red. Amazon, Apple, Microsoft. Still got 4 names in the green with Google, Meta, Tesla, Nvidia. So you might just have a pretty flat day for the Qs, given the back and forth here. We ended up peaking at 362 in the past hour, with the bottom at 360. So really not much movement here. Still seeing money flowing out of AMD down to 126.50, 126.40 now, a new low on the day. So I probably could have got a little bit more for those puts. Let's see, they're going for 330. I sold them at 312, so it's only about $20 more. Not too bad. There's still so many puts getting bought today. 117,360 puts. Only 11,000 calls there. That means that there's, 10 million shares? 120 million shares? No, sorry, 12 million shares to cover for below 360. That's crazy. So yeah, I think I'm going to set alert now for 360. That'll be like a soft alert to where we might start going bearish, and then you're really bearish under 357. So those two alerts set. And then if we go back above 362, we could have a bullish end to the day. But right now, momentum is certainly down. You're looking at 30 on the RSI. It's very weak. So if you're betting to the upside, you're going against momentum this morning. But yeah, that's all the trades I got today. 10:30, we've been here for an hour. Made some money on AMD. And that call debit spread from yesterday that I opened. And I'll catch y'all tomorrow at 9:30. See you, everybody.